Are we on?
Are we recording?
Kelvin, you can't talk at the moment. Kelvin, you can't talk at the moment.
Sorry. Do I have to raise my hand when I speak?
I'm doing the intro. Please stop interrupting me. We are back. This is episode 39 of Lift Talk.
So back.
I'm here with Maddie B and Kelvo.
Hey.
Special K.
Hello, it's me.
And we're going to do an SBD Australia Cup recap show. Boys, what do we think of the SBD Australia Cup? Now, Kelvin, you're not allowed to talk yet. Matt, I'd like you to go first.
It was great.
I give Kelvin permission to speak now.
It was
Okay,
really
Kelvin,
good.
you can go
It was
first.
great. Thank you. No, you go first, Matty. You're the guest here.
That was it was amazing. I had a fantastic time with the front row tickets, so to speak, commentating. I think the athletes all really showed up. I think the City Strength did an amazing job of putting on the competition. The live stream was amazing with all the different angles and replays and that sort of stuff. So I think the execution of the event was amazing, and it was very exciting to see what it did to the community as well. And we sort of touched on that and what it can mean for the future of powerlifting in Australia. So I think it ticked all the boxes I hoped it would tick. And yeah, the lifters performed beautifully. I think they did a really great job.
What about you, Kelv?
Yeah.
All right, that'll do. Thanks, mate.
From like a, I guess, insider's perspective, having started to work at City Strength probably, I think it was like 4 weeks before the comp, I tried to do as much as I could to like assist. So like set up on the day beforehand. And I didn't really know what to expect because I wasn't here for the planning stages of the comp. But when it did come to life, and I think just having all the athletes here at the Invitational and looking around and being within that crowd, I was just like, holy shit, like this is a big comp. Like probably one of the biggest comps that Australia's seen.
Yeah, when they actually all started to arrive.
That was
and
sick.
everyone cleared out from the morning session.
Yeah.
And everyone was kind of just hanging out and all just mingling stuff. I was like, this is actually just like a crazy roster that we ended up putting together. It's really cool. What should we go into first? We'll go into the first thing we need to talk about was, so when we did the preview show, we predicted particular weight classes and what kind of impact that would have on the actual overall competition. So we didn't know whether people would be in different weight classes or not because they didn't have to actually nominate a class. So we only actually had one lifter who turned up and weighed in a different weight class for the competitive purposes, and that was Izzy von Weissenberg. So she actually weighed in an 84 kilo class, which added a spanner in the battle for the 84 class, which I think played out really well. How did that kind of change your scouting, Maddie, when you were on the commentary team, having Izzy just, when you turned up, you're like, oh, Izzy's in the 84 class?
Yeah, that was like really exciting. I also wasn't too sure what to expect because we'd sort of looked at Izzy in the preview as, okay, we know she's a weapon, but we were unsure exactly how the prep had gone. And we know that she'd come in and done this like effectively cold or like untrained day to begin things that was really impressive, but not really sure how things had gone from there. The only things I'd really seen online had been some of the tumultuous days of the prep, which some lifters tend to post more of that when they happen, even if the collective prep has been pretty good. So I wasn't too sure what to expect. But then when we saw the opener squat, it was like, oh, like we're going to see some massive lifts from her today, especially considering the squat and the deadlift make up the bulk of Izzy's total. If she's looking strong in the lower body from at the start of the day, you know you're in for it. Bench press is going to be where bench press is, and I know she's been working hard on bench. But obviously in this situation, Yanni and Beth with their benches, 20, 30 kilos above, the squat and the deadlift was what we were closely watching. So it was more of a edge of our seat. Oh, let's see how this goes,
And that battle ended up coming down to the last 3 deadlifts, which we'll get into later, like one of the best moments of the comp. I think the coolest part of Izzy being here and performing well was how she actually reflected on the comp afterwards. I don't know if you guys saw her post, but she was just like so happy to be back and so happy to be in an environment that was like competitive, but also like encouraging and like positive. And that's kind of what we wanted out of this event, was to, give people something that we haven't seen before. And like, to have someone who's such a legend in powerlifting come and speak so highly of our event was really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we got a touch of that when we did like a middle of the comp interview with Izzy. We sort of touched on the meaning and how she was feeling, considering, like you mentioned, her history in the sport, her very decorated history in the sport. So yeah, it was not only cool to see her speak about the comp that way, but it was also just really cool to see that the comp enabled her to feel that way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
In that sense too.
Yeah.
So
we were able to provide an environment for her to feel that way.
That was quite special.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was definitely a good spanner for the sake of the excitement of the competition. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because otherwise, we were sort of looking at it as being very much a clear front runner in the 76ers. But instead, looking at the overall in the 84s was like a really exciting moment.
Yeah, and because the total in the 84 versus 76 is only 15 kilos difference, if Izzy did decide to cut, she may have lost more than 15 kilos in her total, therefore giving her a lower score. So, seemed like the right move.
And it sounded like, from what she was saying in the interview, that yes, that was a consideration, but I think also a very strong consideration was just being able to eat more, enjoy the prep, and lift big, right? Which is great to see too, and is probably part of that person being able to return back to enjoying powerlifting, like regardless of how big the event was, regardless of the overall, all these exciting things. Half of it was like, yeah, I just had fun eating more and stuff.
Yeah.
It was kind of the way she framed it.
Yeah, and just removing stress as well.
Yeah.
Like someone she's obviously spoken pretty openly about being burnt out from previous performances or previous cuts or, previous world preps and stuff like that. So to be able to just remove stress and go in almost carefree and just have fun was super cool.
Just like shake it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously records were able to be broken at this comp. There were 10 weight classes that were represented, which is 40 record opportunities. And there were 24 out of those 40 records broken. And of those 24, I want to say like 5 or 6 of them were broken more than once.
Yep.
So, yeah, super cool. Paid out almost $10,000 in prize money, which is also super cool. We'll go into now the podiums.
I think quickly it'd be good to touch on like the prize money element. And I think that it's been good to see a culture shift towards like prize money competitions. I know like 4 or 5 years ago, it was less of a common thing, especially in Australia. And I think that off the back of like SBD Sheffield and now seeing multiple events, including this one in Australia, having prize money, what do you guys think about that in competitions? Do you think that athletes compete harder when there's prize money on the line? Do you think that's a thing, or do you think it's just a nice bonus?
I think it makes people take more attention to decision making than anything else. Like I don't think that high level athletes try harder or less hard with anything on the line. I think that's always almost at 100 all the time.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes down to making decisions, it's like, okay, if I take 5 kilos here, I'm instead of 7.5 kilos, I'm giving myself a better chance at $1,500. Like I would be silly to overextend myself here. So those are the kind of differences that it makes, in my opinion.
So it gives maybe us as the spectator excitement because it's different, and the decision-making process has a higher stake because there's money involved.
Yeah. And I also think that because there's money for each individual record, it also tips the scales a little bit in the other way to sometimes being more aggressive.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the format of SBD Cup has made it, I feel like, some of them, we can see on the board, like, a lot of people ended up missing. Whereas I feel like if this was a national event, this wouldn't have looked so red on the board. And I think that just because of the nature of the game, like having to push for a record, it made some of the calls to become more aggressive, but it would have been so worth it. Even if it was just like the record for a bench or for a single lift, rather than trying to out-hurdle the other person, like in their weight class.
What I was quite happy not to see, which we saw on some of the earlier Sheffield competitions, was we saw people sort of needlessly attempting records on like openers and taking like 2 or 5 kilo jumps on a squat between attempts to just try and like tit for tat the record. And then it would,
you got three tries.
And then it would just like ruin the day on a broader sense. And I think that was interesting too. And that is probably, I think, an interesting tactic observation is, and we did address this, is would people hunt individual records at the cost of their day potentially versus pacing themselves? And we did see differences in that. I think that was interesting.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm interested to see how it plays out next year now that the records are more established, because it probably means that in order to get the highest overall score, you're probably better off not reaching for that record. Whereas this year you could kind of risk it because some of those scores were quite high. I think it will tip even further into that favour of making lifts next year.
I completely agree with that, and I also think that another element that differs from, say, SBD Sheffield is that sometimes we see at Worlds lifters who are very far ahead sandbagging to not push the records up. I don't think that we are going to see that at Australian Nationals. I don't think we have that discrepancy between the number one and then everybody else that they can, just coast, and for the sake of prize money at SBD Cup, I'm not going to push on. I think we're going to see them boost again at Nationals, and then it'd be quite hard to significantly boost them at the SBD Cup. So the tactics are going to be even more important.
And also you would assume that those same lifters are going to Worlds, and they're going to be
backing up.
Now that we're actually starting to get more competitive, they're going to be trying to push their own total further, which is likely going to be their own record on the total.
Very true.
Further. The only instance where I can see this happening is if someone is miles ahead of the pack and then doesn't decide to go to Worlds, deliberately pulls back at Nationals, wins anyway because they're miles ahead, doesn't go to Worlds, doesn't extend that record, and then shows up for SBD Cup. That's the only scenario I can see.
Which I can only think of a couple of lifters that applies to. So I don't think, I think on average what you said is true. It's going to be less likely that people are going to be able to reach with, the decision will be an easy decision to like reach for that individual record versus it being a way up of, will this affect my wider day? So yeah, it's a fair point.
And Kelv, to your point earlier, the misses, I think a lot of them, if we look at, I don't have the score sheet in front of me. Maybe I'll do that. But I feel like a lot of the misses were final deadlifts, right?
Yeah, if you look at the board, I think...
Yeah, they're a bit scattered. There are a lot of third deadlifts, but there are also a number of third squats and benches, and even some seconds and even some openers. Yeah. We've seen some openers we know on depth and things happened.
Yeah. I think for squats, it was, I would say most of the misses were on depth in squats. Like very few misses were actually strength misses.
I definitely noticed that after the women went through and there was a lot of lights for depth occurring, that there was, in my opinion, I mean, obviously we didn't know how people were squatting in the warm-up room, but I think there was a conversation had of, hey, like...
Make sure you squat deeper.
Depth. That was something I noticed people were overdoing after a point in time to just make sure they weren't getting pulled up, which at the end of the day, that's why you need the appropriate referees at competitions like this to make sure that when records are broken, it's absolutely to the standard. Of course.
Like I think the standard of refereeing was great.
It was exceptional.
I thought it was really good.
And let's
it
say,
was also very, very consistent as well.
It was
refereeing was consistent and very good. The comp moved at a really good pace. So spotters and loaders did really, really well too.
It was fast, man. When deadlifts were coming around,
it was fast.
I was filling in my sheet.
I couldn't believe
and
it.
I was like looking up, and the three lifts had passed. I'm trying to fill in my sheet to do my maths.
From a commentating perspective, someone was walking off trying to say something, and then buzzword, and someone coming out. I'm like, far out. Like, so that's great, obviously. And I think that what it also does is that we know that national and international competitions are notoriously pretty quick in regard to pacing. So another competition that conditions these high-level lifters in Australia to that, and that normalizing that is, of course, a really good thing.
Yeah, cool. Should we go into which records were broken? Let's do that.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll start with the 52 kilo class. Let me just get.
So we had on the squats.
So no one broke the squat record. Vicky broke the bench press record, finished with 91, and the deadlift record was broken by Liz on her second attempt. She did 178.
Yep.
And then she broke it again on her third attempt, 183, and then Zin came in and chipped her for 183.5.
Which I love. I actually really love that, like, to the point before, rather than opening ultra heavy and trading it all day, Zin actually started quite light and then was left with the record, which is a great play and a great pacing, So I quite like to see that.
Yeah.
And awesome that they were able to go so close on it, and it came down to, I recall Zin's pull being solid, like quite tough.
It was good,
but it was very solid.
She came off saying because I was right next to her. She came off and she was like, "Oh, not another kilo in that."
Yep.
So it must have felt a lot harder than it looked, because I thought it looked actually quite good.
And I remember watching it and thinking, like, that's a pretty sweet spot deadlift for a record, right?
Yeah.
So that was cool too, that it was able to be traded in that fashion.
And so Liz, her third was 183. We probably would have gone a little bit more, but Vicky had just chipped her for the total on Vicky's third deadlift. So Vicky went to 406. Liz's total was at 405.5 before that deadlift. We wanted to push Brittany a little bit further so that Brittany needed to pull a little bit more. for the win.
But somewhere that you felt.
But
was-
we didn't want to overextend and then Liz end up finishing third or fourth even.
How was it like for you in the back room trying to calculate not just, the records within your own weight class, but the total records or like the overall records
Well,
with
I think
other weight classes?
the main thing we were looking at is the overall score. So the way that I explained it to Maddie, the way that I was thinking about it was...
So you didn't look much at the 52s themselves? It was just more so the overall?
Well, like the overall score
I would have
would
accounted
require
for the
her to
52s,
beat
right?
the 52s
I
on
see.
total because
Yeah.
there's no body weight advantage.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
52 is easy math.
Yeah, you have
And
to
then-
assume that everyone's in the same weight class and there's
Yeah,
no
right.
body weight advantage. And
Yeah,
the thing that
gotcha.
you're looking at is what number do I need to put in this cell for this score in this final cell to be greater than the other person. So it's kind of like just doing regular maths at a normal comp, just with one extra step to get to that final number.
Yeah.
And you kind of, in a competition like this, it's like being at Worlds where there's 6 people who could be on the podium or 8 people who could be on the podium. You have to look behind you, in front of you,
Yeah.
even further than you might
And even further
think, and
behind
even further
deadlifts
back than
as
you
well.
might think, because you might like do the maths at the start of the comp and go, okay, these 3 people are contenders, but really there's small margins between 4 and 5 and 6 and 7
There were
that
really
you
small
have
margins,
to look
yeah.
at. And yeah, we ended up having, I think Yanni was only like 0.1 below Vicky, and I think Liz was only like 0.1 below Britt. So it was really, really close at the top there. And then Beth tried to pull to chip Yanni, and then Izzy tried to pull to chip Beth. So like the top 6 were actually within one made lift of each other.
Yeah, and I think like whilst that's true, it's a little bit unremarkable that that's the case because people are only ever going to take the minimum to go ahead of the next person, right?
Yes,
So
true.
you're always going to get those little tiny integers.
Yes, true.
But still, that the cohort were even close enough to be doing that,
Yeah.
right? And for those attempts not to look like sandbags,
Yep.
it says a lot.
So next weight class, 69 women. Brittany took the squat, the bench, and the total. So she squatted 185.5. She benched, where is it?
110.5.
and a half, and she deadlifted 205 for a 501 total, which her final pull gave her the win, gave her the lead over Liz. And at that point, those two were too far ahead of anyone else to be knocked off for first and second. So that essentially did give her the win. And yet, like, I thought she was outstanding, like as
Yeah, her
good as she
performance
possibly
is
could have been.
Insane.
Like 9 for 9 day, one of the few women who went 9 for 9. I think Vicky went 9 for 9 as well. I think those are the only 2 who went 9 for 9 actually. Yeah, Britt was fantastic. We were talking on the preview show. I think the range we gave her was about 480 to 490 was the range we gave her.
Wow.
And she like, far exceeded that. She actually hurt her back a couple weeks out as well, so there was even more question marks around her performance, but she did everything she needed to, came in and executed, picked fantastic numbers and did exactly what she needed, put herself in the best position, and then put the right number on the bar at the end and was able to take the win.
Yeah, I mean, she was just really strong and looked like she really hit her spot across all of the lifts and looked really comfortable whilst doing it. So that's what I'll say is like she just looked remarkable in terms of like her presence in the lifts. It wasn't ever really a question mark whether she was hitting standards. It was all really, really professional. So yeah, and such a 501 is a pretty fantastic total, at 69.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited not only about that, but to see where she can go.
Yeah, I think this probably solidifies for her that this is her weight class. I did talk to her a little bit after the comp and she said she just felt not herself sitting heavier. Like she didn't feel as comfortable. She felt like her leverages were a little off on certain lifts. And she actually was stronger at 69 than she was in her last 2 comps at 76.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, that's really
which
interesting.
is super cool. And I think that kind of highlights the idea that if you're going to go down a weight class, you should be going down if you've already got experience in that class because you've got more data and you kind of know how your body feels. Like if you've been a 76 your entire career for 5-6 years and then you decide to go down, you're probably going to be more likely to see a performance decrease than someone who's been at that body weight before and also quite recently. Like her last 69 comp was 2 years ago. So
Yeah. And I suppose it also challenges that status quo of that we should always be going up to gain kilos on our total. But it's nuanced. It's not like I don't think a lot of people would have this experience. I just think that in this unique experience, like what you mentioned about Britt just not feeling herself in the leverages of a lift, that's someone who's experienced, really strong, has been in the 69s.
And she knows herself as well as an athlete.
And objectively is doing worse relative to expectation going up. So with all of that being said, it made sense to come back down, and that's great. But I don't think you'll see that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, her total still did go up from going from 69 to 76. Like previously, her best 69 total was 467.5.
Yep.
And she did 495, I think, at Worlds. So, you know, that's a sizable increase. Like,
For
that's
sure.
enough data to go, okay, I am stronger at this body weight.
So interesting that that's still been the assessment is like, but I still feel better in the 69s.
And she proved herself right. And like,
Big time.
it was absolutely
big time.
fantastic.
So yes, absolutely magnificent performance.
So moving on, 76 women. Kelly Basto broke the squat record with 191.
Do you recall what she missed her second for?
It was depth, I believe.
She got it on strength. I think it was for depth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So she attempted 188 on the second attempt, and then I think it was actually quite easy, and then they went up to
It
191.
started to go up, yeah.
Yeah. So she nailed that at 191. That was the only record broken in that class. Both of those two women a little bit short of the total record. And then finally the 84 women. The squat record was broken by Yanni initially, and then Izzy matched her but didn't chip her, so that didn't count as a record. And then Yanni broke it again on a second with 200. Then Izzy 200.5. Yanni missed 205.5, and then Izzy took 206.
Yeah, I remember Yanni broke it on the opener, and then like after the fact, we sort of realized on the stream, we were like, wait a second, that was a record. What
Yeah,
the
yeah.
hell?
Yeah.
You know, because we weren't expecting it.
And it
I
wasn't
think-
a chip either. So
yeah, exactly. We kind of
didn't
weren't
look
expecting
like
it till
yeah.
later. We're sort of just like, yeah, starting the day. Yeah, look at this great opener, really good opener. And then like
Yeah.
look back and I was like, that was a record.
Yeah. Yeah. So that one changed hands a few times, and Izzy finished with 206. The bench record was broken by Beth also on the opener. She did 125.5, which was actually 5.5 more than the previous record. And then did 128 on the second. And then unfortunately missed 131 on the third. Yanni pretty close to that 128. Like, we might see those two battling for that bench record in the future. I know Beth wasn't super happy with her bench performance, so perhaps this is actually just unders, like unders what she's capable of, which kind of is what it would suggest with how heavy the opener was.
Yeah.
Like, you'd probably expect her to be looking into the mid 130s, or at least like the 132,
I definitely think she's capable of
135
benching
range.
more. Yeah.
Off a 125.5 opener. And what did she do the week before?
130. I
She just
think
did 130?
was pretty cruisy. At
Yeah,
that
and
bench only.
it was comfy. So
All
like,
things considered, it's bench only, but you know.
yeah, so that was a comfy 130. So perhaps we see mid 130s by nationals.
Yeah.
And then Yanni probably isn't close at that point. And the deadlift record, Yanni set the deadlift standard 217.5 on her final pull, which also gave her the total record of 542.5, which was 32.5 over what it was previously. And then Beth went for 227.5, which would have chipped Yanni for
Yanni.
543. And then Izzy did the same and missed as well with 234.5, which was hype.
Yeah.
That was a big
That
deadlift.
that whole segment of the competition
Yeah.
was incredibly hype.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
between
was
those three
super
girls
fun.
was mad
Yeah.
with deadlifts.
And that's exactly how in my opinion, you want it to go is either that all three make their third, they're difficult, and it decides the placings. Or in this case, where someone has made their third, it's a record, it's a total record, and then that's been enough to block out the others like that. They're both exciting outcomes.
Yeah. So to give you the backstory of the Yanni attempt selection, I put in 215 because I thought that's all she could do. And then she came up and was like, oh, I reckon I can do 217.5. And I'm like, okay, I'll put that in the back of my head. So I've kind of like left it in the back of my head. I didn't change anything. And then I kind of had a look at Beth's second attempt again. And I was like, ugh, if we do 215, she needs 225. I reckon she's a pretty good chance at 225. Like, let's risk it. Like, let's go for it. Because in that instance, 217.5 did happen to be the standard, which meant we get an extra prize money bump. Plus, we push, if we make it, we push Beth maybe too far. And that was the decision making there. The extra layer to add to that was that put her only like half a point behind Vicky for the podium. And I was like, okay, 217.5 gives her this many points. What about 218? What about 218.5? What about 219? And it was all the way up to 220 to actually get ahead of Vicky on the podium. And I was just like, no, that's a bridge too far. We'll stick with 217.5. We'll take the 84 total record and leave it there. So, and judging by how hard that 217.5 was, I think that was the right decision.
Yeah, I think that's a really good insight. I think a lot of the time, or sometimes, coaches will make that decision for the extra 2.5 as if, oh, it's just an extra 2.5. We might as well.
But this 217 was
gotta
already
be-
an extra 2.5.
That's right. But regardless, like 2.5 can, well, of course, a gram can absolutely tip you over the scale. So, you know, it's good to get that insight of like, okay, what do I actually think we can do? 217.5's already like that
Pushing
place
it.
where I'm not that comfortable.
Yeah.
To like, where would you have gone? Say it was 218.5.
I think 218.5 was probably
Okay,
the
yeah,
limit.
yeah.
Like, and I don't know why that's the limit,
Yeah.
but there has to
Yeah,
be
you-
one. There
some
has to
kind of
be a limit.
intuition.
Has to
Some
be a
kind of
limit somewhere.
intuition,
Yeah.
right? And then the 217.5 was like,
Yeah, it's completely,
incredible.
completely
Yeah.
maximal.
That was
Yeah.
a really good call.
That was
Yeah.
epic.
no,
And I
that's
think
great.
Beth's third deadlift was very, very close as well. I
It
think.
was.
It was
Yeah, it was
extremely
close.
close. It was
Yeah.
just on lockout.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
so-
above the knee. It was like it was right there. So,
Yeah.
well,
Well, then ended up-
who knows? Maybe she did get. Maybe she would get 225.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
like the way you just sort of talk about that in retrospect, like it's good to get the insight, but also it really played out that way too. It was an absolute cap, and then it just squeezed out Beth. Just, you know, so
Yeah,
it's cool. That's what it's all about.
it'll be super cool to see those three go at it at nationals. Provided
yeah.
Izzy comes back again for nationals.
Yeah.
That'll
Hope she
be
does.
a really really
Yeah.
fun
I
battle.
think from the discussion I had with her, that's definitely on her mind. So
Yeah. So we'll go into the podium for the women now that we've just spoken about most of them. So first place, as we mentioned, was Brittany,
Brit.
9 for 9 day. I think it was 108.3 points.
Insane.
Broke the total record by 38.5 kilos. Enormous. Second place was Liz, 108.03 points. Broke the total record by 30.5 kilos, 410.5 at 52. And then third place just below that was Vicky with 406 at 52, which I think was 106.3 points. If you want to check my memory there. And then fourth through six was the 384 girls. So it was Yanni and then Beth and then Izzy.
Yeah. I wish there was a sort function on here
pretty much spot on.
from record.
Yeah,
Yeah, with
I
regard
think
to
my
the
memory's
points
all right there.
No, pretty much spot on. Yeah,
I
108.3,
won't
108.03.
I won't know the men's numbers as well because I wasn't coaching in the session, so I wasn't crunching them.
We'll get there.
All right, shall we do the men's?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. So we had 6 weight classes represented for the men: 66, 74, 83, 93, 105, 120, which means that there was 6 times 4 is 24 records available.
Quick maths.
So first up in the 66 class, Andrew broke his own squat record by
That was mad.
half a kilo, 234.5. He also broke his own total record with 642 and just 2.5 shy of the deadlift standard. Now, I'm actually interested to know if you've spoken to him about this, Matty, because the deadlift standard is 265 and he elected to do 262.5. Do you know what the call was there?
It says record here.
Yeah, that's total.
That's for the total record.
That's because that lift gave him
Yep,
the total record.
got you.
So the deadlift is still the standard at 265. So he would have just needed 265 for that.
Yeah,
I
why didn't he do-
I haven't discussed it with him. I dare say it would have been a pretty straightforward choice of this is what I believe I have.
Yep.
I'm going to prioritize pushing forward my total, which he did.
Yep.
And
If he
just-
had missed it, he wouldn't have gotten the total record, right?
That's correct.
that's right. And I think as well, what I was going to say about Andrew, and I was saying this on the stream, is I think he was much closer to the mix than we maybe originally anticipated. And I think that he was just playing that like under the radar, kind of like pottering along and achieving little chips on his best. And I think that was a really sound play. I think as well for him, having just a good, well put together day was a high priority for him. So again, when you're choosing between that 262, 265, is the risk really worth it for, yes, more prize money or some prize money. But this is where it comes down to priority of the athlete coming in. Some people are going to care very little or not at all about the prize money, and it is more the competition itself and also what it means for them as a stepping stone as an athlete. I think that's a little more where he was sitting on it.
And he was still also able to nab dollars for the total record with that lift anyway.
That's right.
So
So
this was an additional.
That's right. So the question is like 2 records are potentially 0.
2 in the bird is worth
Versus-
two in the bush is worth 1 in the hand. What is it? What's the saying? 1 in the hand's worth 2 in the bush. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think that's the one. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I know that saying.
Do you know what it means?
I think I get
So
the
it's like
gist.
having one actually available is better than the potential of
Yes,
Wait,
yes.
what's 2 birds in the
but
one?
losing
2 birds in one hand? What?
2 birdies on your palm.
It's got nothing to do
Is
with
a crumb
birds.
in the hand.
Two in the,
Wait,
Two
what's
in
That was it, wasn't it?
one?
what is it? One in the hand is worth two in the bush. Is that what it is?
Where do bogeys fit in?
I don't know, boys.
Wait, you didn't mention anything about birds?
I don't.
I thought you said birds.
I don't know, boys.
Doesn't even know his own saying.
We're off
bro.
the rails here.
So Andrew, 2 birdies in the hand.
Yeah,
Bush
Wait, he
Andrew
does
has
play
two
golf,
birds.
doesn't he?
He had 2 birds
He
in
does.
him.
He
He had
plays
2
golf,
birds
doesn't
in
he?
one hand.
Andrew, golfer,
Good job, Andrew.
birdie extraordinaire.
So yeah, I think that he was just trying to put together a good day.
I think also like having securing a third deadlift is psychologically a bump up as well in
Yeah,
confidence.
it's a huge sort of momentum to take you forward to the next.
to push forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
74 class, we just had Kean, no records broken there. 83 kilo class, we had Kana break his own squat record,
Man.
300.
300 insane.
He did not attempt the bench record,
83.
and he broke the deadlift standard record, and he hit 315, which also gave him the total record of 792.5. Had he made that final bench that he just beat the rack command on, he would have totaled 800.
That was so silly.
So
He literally
silly.
finished it and just, I'll put it back now.
And that's the
It's the
difference
classic.
between like this was his 4th comp
yeah.
versus someone who's done 14 or 9 or whatever the case
He's
is.
still
So
very new.
I
to the
think
sport.
like that
It's
he'll
so
learn.
weird.
He'll learn from this. You'd hope.
It's so
you're
weird.
right.
It's so weird seeing someone who can total 800 make an error like that you come to expect from someone who's totaling 400 at their third or fourth comp. It's just so intriguing because
Yeah.
it's such a unique case where he's clearly been training hard for a long time and was really strong when he started competing, and then he's done the small number of comps, so the experience level is really low. Like there's no two ways about it. But he's so strong. It's just like you look at it and you're like, you go, that shouldn't happen, like in your brain, and then you go, no, it's kind of understandable.
Yeah.
It's like high pressure event, potentially total 800, which is what Tanis did. Massive stakes on the whole thing for him personally and wanting to do all of that. But he's so fresh.
Yeah.
You know, so it's completely understandable. And like you said, I think it will serve him in the future that those little micro focuses of standards, it's like, oh yeah, let me just overdo that, which we all learn to just let the spotters take the bar in on the bench and let the spotters take you in on the squat, these things, and those conversations will be had. But yeah, eerily close to 800.
Since I think I overheard a conversation with him and John that week, I think, and John was telling me like Kana really wants 800, like he really, really wants to crack 800, but yeah, just unfortunate on that third bench.
And I think that if he had made that third bench, the deadlift attempt would have been 315.5 just to do half a kilo more than Tanis. I think that's probably what they would have done. But yeah, they decided to just go with 315.
Should have done 323.
Should have done 323, and it actually might have been able to because the 315 was
pretty good.
really good.
Yeah.
And moving on to the 93s, we had 315 squat record be broken by Ewan Belgrove. Neither of the boys broke the bench, and Josh Takua broke the deadlift. And
Man,
the
that
total.
last deadlift.
So the deadlift was
Josh.
329. It was a rocket. And
It was a
then-
rocket,
Yeah, it
wasn't
was
it?
so
and
fast.
then the total was 806.5. Boys, I need to take a bathroom break. Matt bought monsters, and I'm just...
He's had 3 so
busting.
far.
Potty break for.
Do you want to keep chatting or do you want
Alex.
us to wait for you? Okay, wait.
We'll wait for you.
Let's do an intermission section. 2 birds and a
birds
and
and
a
one
bathroom
hen.
break.
Look up the saying.
What did he say?
2 hands.
One in the hand is worth two in the bush, I think.
Matt, I don't listen during this. It makes my job later harder, but I just...
Perfect analogy.
2 hands, 1
It
bush.
would have been better if I actually remembered the fucking quote.
It's all good.
All right, we're back.
We didn't leave, yeah. How was your week?
It's good.
Yep, nice.
It's pretty fast.
Fast
That
stream.
was quick.
Mm.
Wow.
Didn't wash
monster.
my hands.
Oh goodness.
What's the stream?
I'm not editing that. That's going out.
It's all right. And moving on, 105 battle. Epic battle,
Oh,
by
that's
the way.
sick. Yeah.
Squat record was taken by Mr. Muselis with 322 and a half.
That was insane.
That's a phenomenal.
It was
spot.
so nice. So that was 10 and a half above the previous record, which is a lot to break a squat record by. Bench record was attempted by Chaplin but missed, so no one took that. And the deadlift record was initially broken by Michael Rand, 350 and a half, and then chipped on the final for 351 by Mr. Hung Fan. And then that deadlift, that 351, gave him the total record of 846 and also gave him first place.
And the win. Yeah.
So final weight class, Sam Butterworth, he only broke the deadlift and the total, pulling 363 for
Only.
an 863 total.
And he pulled 360.
But he just built his day really nicely,
Yeah.
and he kind of just set himself up in a way that it was like, if I do this and do this, I need to pull this much, and then I chip the total. I was a tiny little bit, part of me wanted him to do 365
To be
for
the
the biggest
biggest
deadlift ever
ever.
in Australian,
Yeah.
drug tested deadlift ever in Australian history.
Mm.
That
Nikolai?
would have been cool. Yeah, Nikolai
Nikolai's
pushing
364.
Do you think he would have gotten it?
I do. I do. But I mean, it's again,
It was,
bird in the
what
hand,
was that?
two in
That's
the
Two
bush.
birds,
There
one
in the bush.
Something to
birds,
do
one
with
bush.
bogeys and golf. So to recap the men's, the podium was actually like the scores in the men's were a lot lower than in the women's.
Yeah.
And
The women killed it, man.
the reason for that was I think because those weight classes that the top 6 in the women's were competing in were actually like quite low records. So those were targeted. We had Vicky move up to 52. We had Liz move down to 52. We had Brittany move down.
Like-
We had Izzy move up. So we had 4 out of the top 6 in the women's actually moved weight classes to target those quote unquote
Yeah.
weaker records.
True. But I will say that the 93 record we flagged as that as well.
Yes.
And there was a performance discrepancy between the women who moved, they killed it, versus, when we look at Josh, where he would have liked to have been, where we expected him to be, it was an underperformance.
Yes.
So it's also just that sheer fact that the women had really fantastic performances
They
as
did.
well.
They
right?
performed super well.
So both of those things. So we'll flag that as well. But that's true. Like there were maybe more of those situations where we did see, if I go like upper weight class, the total's lower, like say with 47.52.
Especially with Vicky.
Right.
Yeah.
So there were clear examples of that.
Yep.
Yep.
So in first place was, can you get the percentages out for me? The actual scores?
Yep.
So first place was Hung Fan. I believe it was 103.2.
102.85.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
102.8.
Because it was about 24.
Because then he
up.
broke the deadlift and total.
Oh, yeah, you're right. No, you're right. So 102.8, whatever.
85, yeah.
85. 86.
86.
And
Rounded
then
up.
second place was Josh Takua with 102 point something else.
739.
102 point.
74.
And
74.
third place, Kana with 102 point something as well.
102.12.
Yeah. So all the men in the
1.3.
top 3 separated by like 0.8 of a point.
Yeah.
And those 3 lifts kind of, Kana put himself into first, and then Josh came in and put himself into first, and then Hung came and put himself into first. And Hung's, it's actually crazy how the maths worked out for Hung, that his exactly what he needed for the
Chip the
deadlift record was the same number that he needed for
The total.
the win overall.
Oh, overall.
It was just a super convenient number for him.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to talk about Hung's performance?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about Hung's performance. I'm a massive fanboy of Hung.
Are you actually?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Love Hung.
Hung is the absolute man.
Are you well over there?
No, I just smoked shit into my nose.
What I love is when
make Chris
someone
laugh.
accidentally calls Hung Hung. Like all the time, someone's like, "Oh yeah, Hung's competing." I'm like, "Yeah,
That hung guy.
Hung is competing,
that
baby.
Hung dude." I think he had a stellar day. I think he paced himself really well. I spoke to him in Melbourne a few weeks before the competition, and he predicted exactly how it went down with sort of what he considered to be him versus Josh. He wanted to just play the day with the numbers that he planned out and executed. I'm pretty sure he executed it to a T, but he was just willing to pull more. And that he was not necessarily expecting slip-ups, but was just mindful that that probably needed to occur to open the door, which is exactly what happened. And he just had a really flawless day. I mean, he looked really comfortable. He looked like he had room on just about everything, to be honest with you, which is pretty disgusting.
Hung.
And I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens at Nationals, because if you look at Rand missing that 310, that's a massive loss off of his potential total if he had potentially taken something slightly less. And then you've of course got Sam, who wasn't at this event, back at Nats as well. So I think 105s are going to be, as always, but it's really exciting to watch it at Nationals. But yeah, Hung was incredibly impressive. But like, I have a huge amount of support for him because he's a good mate. We've been teammates at points. I think he's a really respectful, nice guy. So I'd love to see him do well. But he's also just been in the game for a long time. He's a very, very clean lifter. Like technically, he's just a really good performer, and he did that.
He's one of those lifters that, like, if he broke a world record and it got on Instagram, would get 0 comments about his technique because he's like, quote unquote, like the bros, like ticks all the bro boxes.
Right.
Like,
right, yeah.
his squats aren't super wide stance, or he doesn't cut depth. His benches are just pretty long range of motion.
Yeah.
His deadlift's conventional. Like he's like
Gym bro.
He's what I like in a lifter, just like raw Michael Rand
strength.
like strength.
Yeah, he's just a big, strong dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big strong
Big,
horse.
strong Asian man.
Hung like a horse. All right.
Two in the hand, one in the bush.
So
Two birds,
See,
one
it was
bush.
like
Yeah,
it was like on the nose, like the hung thing was like on the nose, and you're like hung like a horse.
no, I said hung like a horse.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Hung like a horse.
But yeah, I think he did tremendously well. And honestly, in line with my expectations, I've seen a lot of his training over the years, and I could see that he was having a really strong prep. He was posting most things. One thing he didn't, I mean, you wouldn't speak about this, but he was actually having a rib issue. So he was having lockout issues on deadlift in prep, and he was having pain in the deadlift. The only lift I was surprised showed up so well. Like the deadlift was the best I've ever seen from him. Not only in strength, he looked really strong, but also in terms of standards. He's been called from time to time on soft knees because he does pull back because it's such a heavy load and he's such a big boy. He pulls back really hard and he can unlock his knees sometimes, and he has been pipped for that. And he was on point with that. Everything was excellent with the lockout position.
I've actually seen him compete. I think it was 2 years ago at a USAPL comp at Breakthrough.
Yes, it was the invite comp where I think
Yes.
Josh was there as well.
Yeah, and I think he was pinned on soft shoulders on his deadlifts or something.
It was the knees.
Oh, it was knees.
Soft
Yeah.
lockout,
It
but it's
would've been
always the knees.
He's had that,
'cause
he's-
he's had
yeah.
that several times.
Yeah, it's just a technique thing, and I think he's obviously addressed that.
And I think he was really upset after that USAPL
Yeah,
comp.
because also he got called for it at like a PA Nats back in the day, and like it's
Yeah.
been an ongoing thing for him.
But it was really impressive to see him like really clean up his deadlifts.
Like I hadn't chatted to him on that. I'm not one to like say to someone who's not my client, "Oh, you're working on that thing," but they've clearly looked at it because like you could see that he was aware of that thing that's pipped him before.
Yeah,
and
it's conscious.
it just wasn't a problem, which is great.
Yeah.
And ultimately, someone who's super strong but has, lost on a technicality, you don't really like to see that. But as well, at the end of the day, the rules exist, and things like knees, I mean, it comes down to precision of practice over weeks, and he did that. So it's really great to see not only a strong day, but also someone who's like looked so good and had so many opportunities in the past. I says to him, like he's been competing for so long. He's had great comps, terrible comps, championships he's won, ones he's come third in. And then he's come through on his first competition in the new affiliate, and he's won arguably one of our biggest non-national competitions ever.
It's undeniable.
So cool for him. I'm so pleased for him.
I'm so glad that
You're very pleased.
we actually had a few of those invites turned back in the first round because he was one of the second round invites, and I was so stoked
really?
to get
That's
him back.
cool. The winner.
I was so stoked to get him back. And I couldn't justify inviting him over the 83s, the 383s who did the same total that he did at Nationals because they were already in our federation. And then once Sam knocked it back, it was bang, Hung's invite. And I knew he would be a contender. I didn't expect he would win, but
When
I
you say the
thought
83s
he
did
would be.
the same total as him.
Sorry?
When do you say the 83s who hit the
No,
same?
the 105s, sorry. Did I say 83s?
You said
Sorry,
83s.
the
I
105s.
was like,
I understood.
The 105s at Nationals who did the same total that Hung
With the
did at
first round.
USAPL, they were
And
in
he
the
got
first
them
round.
when
and then,
Sam said no.
When
Yeah,
Sam said
makes
no,
sense.
Hung
Yeah.
got in.
Yeah, it makes sense process-wise, yeah.
And super happy to have him back, and like obviously he's so fun to watch, and like he just comes out and he's just so chill and like just does the thing. So yeah, you mentioned this actually as well, Matty, with Rand. So Rand finished, what did he finish? Only 11.5 kilos behind Hung, and missed 17.5 kilo jump. And he missed a 17.5 kilo jump on his squat.
Yeah.
So if we can see Rand and Hung both go 9 for 9, because their pulls are really similar too. So we get some cat and mouse with the temps, get some changes going on, like get some lot numbers in there. Like, that will be epic. And then you add in Sam, you add in Chaplin, you add in Yanni, like that. and even Murdad from this year's nationals, who emerged and improved a lot from his previous
It's going to
meet.
be crazy.
6 guys going for the podium for 105s next year is going to be
6 birds.
It's going to be epic. 6 birds, only 3 podium spots. All right, so second place was Josh Takua, who we all kind of thought would run away with it. And he did not have a great day, only making 1 squat.
What did you guys think of his squats?
Well, his first one was really high.
You could, yeah, you could.
Like super, super high. It was one of the few lifts that I was actually in the crowd for to watch because I was so busy out the back coaching the girls. I came out and I was like, oh, I'm excited to see how this moves because, you know, when you watch someone's opener, it like gives you a little bit of information like, oh, how much is left?
Yeah.
Bit of intrigue. And he came out and it took him forever to do his setup. And there was like 10 seconds on the clock when he gets the squat command. And I was like, as soon as he comes back up, I'm like, oh, no way. That's not even close. So, yeah, he would be disappointed with that. It's looked like he squatted a lot deeper than what he did on that opener in training. So I was quite surprised by that because usually your training is the biggest indicator of what your standards are going to be. But he was able to back it up with the second and make it. And then he missed a 10 kilo jump. Did he miss that on strength? 3 or 5?
I think it was on depth.
It was on depth.
No, I'm pretty sure that was on strength.
3 or 5 was on strength.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was on strength. That was quite surprising. And it was because he was pushing. He knew he had to push in. And it's one of those things like, you know, I'll speak on this as someone who like has struggled with depth at times, is that if you have a prep where even if at the back end, like you do look like you're hitting things deep and whatnot, and you're trying to get to standard, if your average training hasn't been there, it can be like really hard to know where you are in space, which is what it looked like for him.
It did, yeah.
Looked like he was just kind of like, you know, trying to feel strong and trying to get to standard, but didn't really know where he was. And it was great that he got on the board. But then that third one, like he has squatted so much more than that. And like he probably cut a little bit of weight, but he has squatted so much more than that. So to see him miss that was just a weird one. And I'm sure that he would be, looking at how he can amend that, especially coming into nationals and wanting to take it further. But yeah, that was disappointing, I think, as a viewer, because we know he's so much better than that.
He's got a big squat.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what I'll also say is that what was pretty remarkable was that he missed 3 lifts and he still potentially could have won if he had capped out his deadlift potential, which was amazing.
His final deadlift was so fast.
It was. And I mean,
insane.
doesn't mean it had like a ton of room, because we know how it can go sometimes with a sumo. But it did look like he had a little bit of room there. I guess he was, again, weighing up. How's it go?
You tell me. You Googled
It's
it.
all you, Matty.
Birds of a feather.
2 in the hand.
Birds of a feather.
The feather of a bird.
We're getting further and further away.
2 feathers in a bird.
So look, like, I think it was good to see him have a really clean deadlifting day. That was a great deadlift performance, and there's a lot of positive that'll come out of that. There's also going over 800, which is remarkable. And definitely a shame, but also like, wow, how close it still became, despite him having a pretty terrible day for him.
So yeah, we were kind of expecting, based off based off these openers, someone opens a squat at 295, you're expecting 315 minimum, probably 325.
Well, the form that we sent out for commentating to collect some information, he sort of calmly indicated he was aiming for 830 to 840.
Yep. Yeah,
He's like, I'll be pretty happy with 830, 840. It was like that.
He actually messaged me.
It's insane.
He actually messaged me after we posted the preview show, and he said, "Do you think any of the 105s can do 850?" That's what he said to me.
Oh shit!
He was obviously doing the maths. He was obviously like, "Fuck, if they can do 850, I need X amount." And Hung did 846. So I said it would have to be a great day for someone to hit 850.
Yeah.
But yeah. Someone opening a squat at 295, you're probably expecting 315 to 325.
Yeah, like from that 305 would have been an easy second for him.
At least 315, probably 325.
Yeah. And then let's say he was aiming for like 320, 325. I mean, you could open lighter.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
So again, that's a question you have to ask himself, is like, I missed an opener that despite how strong I am, I wasn't able to get to standard. Do I just go even lighter next time and just get on the board and start my day better?
Yeah.
Whatever.
And we were even flagging that he might have a chance at the bench record. It was 10 kilos below the bench record.
So I think his second might have missed because of bum or something coming up.
Don't remember.
Yeah,
pretty sure he got it. It was technicality. So he took that nice modest 2.5 just to kind of make sure he didn't take any risks.
Yeah.
And,
but we were flagging the potential for a record, the standard on bench, which is 192.5, and he was 10 kilos away from that. And then obviously, as we said, he deadlifted really well and kind of saved his day in a way.
Yeah.
Deadlift total.
With that
After his
329
bench, I was
pull.
like, oh, it's over for Josh, man. I was like, oh, man. He was having a rough day, but his deadlift was really...
He has alluded to a few things in a couple of posts that have been a little bit cryptic about how he had a roller coaster of a day, but he hasn't given any specifics yet for what that meant. So I'm interested to see what that actually meant and whether he had some issues getting here or whether it was cutting weight or whether some, I don't know, who knows.
I was actually here with Potts and Josh. I think it was either in between squats or in between bench or whatever. And he was going like, man, like they're refereeing pretty strict today. So I think he may have been caught off guard by the standards, possibly. I think this was after his squats, but yeah, I think after this he'll definitely, or hopefully he cleans up his act for nationals and we'll see.
I think it's probably the perfect experience
Absolutely.
for someone like Josh who is so strong, has IPF experience, he knows how it is, has been away for a while, he's fully recognised that, and he's come back and been like, cool, massive event, done well to his credit,
Absolutely.
in regard to like where the 93 standard is and what he achieved, but relative to where he can be, I think it will be, he's the kind of guy, it's like the perfect thing where he's going to go straight back to the bunker, clean these things up, and he will have a formidable improvement, I think, coming to nationals. That's what I expect from him.
I hope so as well.
And so I think that's what we'll see. And him saying, oh, it's, they're remarkable. They seem pretty strict. I mean, when I was looking at it, I was like, this is good reffing,
Yes,
well,
me
it wasn't like, whoa, that was depth. What's going on? It was like, no. We can see the difference between who's getting reds and who's getting whites.
Absolutely.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think that's just a reflection of like taking some time away from the IPF and getting used to a different sort of standard of refereeing.
Yeah.
And then, maybe not being caught off guard, but just maybe being a little bit surprised by the difference in standard.
And again, it brings you back to what is the necessary average of your training with regard to standards when you're in a different environment, where more often than not, your actual lived experience is that when you're squatting 290 border, you're getting whites. Mm-hmm. Why would you squat any deeper?
Yes, of course.
So then when you're in this other experience with IPF, oh, yep, okay, squat where I normally squat, reds, what? Oh, this is very strict.
Yeah.
It's like, no, actually, it's just a difference in how things are executed. And that's, I mean, let's be real, like, let's go outside of Australia for a moment, because I think Australian IPF reffing standards are really amazing, and the refs we have here are fantastic. When you look in the IPF internationally, the IPF has a reputation when it comes to refereeing in maybe not as positive of a light of being actually quite inconsistent
Too strict.
in regard to depth of bench press and squat and all these things.
Well, sometimes it's not strict. Sometimes it is very strict. Like it's inconsistent.
Someone's inconsistent. Exactly.
Which is worse than being strict or not strict.
Yeah, exactly. Like at the end of the day, the rule is the rule. So if you give someone white lights for a high squat, it's just as bad to give someone red lights for a deep squat. And we see that.
Yes.
And that is a frustrating thing for international athletes. However, that's not what we're talking about. But I think, IPF on a more ground scale, you have that experience and you have to be aware of that. Like even going over to South Africa and watching some of the calls that were made from a coaching perspective.
Interesting.
My training has, like my personal training and my clients, I'm like, no. Yeah, you're at depth, but I know you're interested in international floor, on the floor, because I know that people were disappointed.
Have you not said that to me because you don't think I'm going to go international?
On the day. No, because you're squatting already super deep. Two in the bird, one in the hand.
Two in the birds, one in the hand.
Jesus.
How many variants of this guy?
None of them make
But yeah,
any
no.
sense.
So I think that's a bit of a tangent that I went on there, but it's to the same effect of what we're talking about with Josh, where I think we will see him turn that around and put up something more like what he was aiming for at this competition, like maybe that 820 to 835 kind of region. I expect to see from him, and that would be great. And it'd be awesome to see how the other 93s start to respond to him being here.
Yeah, totally. I think we see this in lots of sports as well, because it's rare that sports introduce new rules, but they often introduce new interpretations of rules or new focuses on how they referee the game. Like in rugby league, they've started to call basically anything that's above the shoulder is a yellow card for sin bin. Whereas you go back to the 90s and dudes are flying in from nowhere and haymakering guys in the head and
Getting
like,
hung.
just a penalty.
Having a chat, yeah.
And it does take athletes a little bit of time to actually adjust. And like you see when they bring in these new interpretations of the rule, the first 5 rounds are just a shit show.
Yep.
Like first of all, the refs don't really know how to react. And then secondly, the players are trying to figure out like, okay,
Where's
how do I
the
actually
line?
position my body? Where's the line? Where's the new line? So yeah, that's kind of how Josh is.
Yeah, that would
I'm
be-
sure Josh is feeling now.
That would be his experience. And it's one of those things where, you can be a mill above the perceived level of depth requirement for the side referees, and your day can get stripped from you. So it can be that close, right?
Yep.
We can both all admit that the opener pre wasn't a mill, but the day as a whole
Yep.
can slip away from you like that. So yeah, it's going to be cool to see what he can do. He's a fantastic athlete, and like I said, it speaks to where he's at, that he was still so close despite not having anywhere near the day he could have had.
Yeah.
So
Totally. And then third place for the men's was Kana Chambara. Obviously, we spoke about him a little bit. Just looks like he's got so much more to give.
Yeah.
Like it's
Just
just
insane.
there's the progression from comp to comp, and then the ease at which he hit his third squat and his third deadlift at this comp were surprising. And yeah, I'm super excited to see the Tannis versus Kana showdown at Nationals. If we get it, I really hope we do.
Has Tannis indicated he's competing at nationals?
Well, I've spoken to Tannis a little bit when I was in Melbourne, and only a handful of weeks ago he was a little bit unsure. But he has changed coaches since then. His training has looked a lot more healthy since then. He has like on and off adductor issues from what I understand. So he was doing some reduced ROM squatting for a bit, but I saw him pause squat like 262 or something the other day and make it look like it was
Yeah,
like 162. So I think I from what I'm seeing in his training, it looks promising that he will turn up.
He also-
I think he did a 300 deadlift double or something the other day.
He also alluded to maybe whether he'd be 93, and he looked. I sent you that bench video of his with his fucking forearms, like absolutely
Yeah. Looks lean.
ridiculously lean. He's definitely not in the 93s. So yeah, provided he's healthy, I assume he'll be there.
I would love. I'm hoping that we get to see that
Yeah.
healthy battle between the two of them.
I was hoping we would get it at the Cup, but
Yeah.
we'll have to wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, I
Was he?
feel like-
He was invited.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I feel like that was, considering what I just said about his, more recent body health being just a little touch and go. It doesn't sound like he was too beat up. Just he was a little touch and go.
Yeah.
It was probably a good choice in the end for him.
It's also understandable. Like he just competed in, I think it was in June. Was it June?
It wasn't long
and
ago.
No, it was May. It was May,
and he balled out.
and he did amazingly.
Yeah,
But if you do May and then October and then you do February and then you're planning to go to Worlds, it ends up being 4 comps in 11 months,
Too much.
it was a good
which for someone who's had just 4 years off, like from going to have 4 years off to then doing 4 comps in
back to
11
back
months,
to
like
back.
Catching up.
it makes sense that he didn't do it.
Yep.
But obviously, selfishly, I wanted him.
yeah. It almost would have been cool to see that performance he did at Adonis happen at SBD
Yeah.
Cup.
Yeah.
It would have been like, 800 boys versus 800 boys
that would have
situation.
been really cool.
Yeah.
So fourth place was Rand, who we spoke about earlier, and then Andrew, who we spoke about earlier, and then Yanni, who was third out of the 105
83.
boys. The
105,
105 boys. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think the last part of the podcast, we'll talk about each of our favorite sort of moments or favorite periods of the comp or favorite lift or whatever. Kelv, you can go first, mate.
Me first. Okay. I think we touched on earlier in the pod where when everyone started rolling in, it was really, really to see everyone all together in one room at that level of like competition was really awesome. Just to be part of and just to watch. But if I was to pick another part, I think the final deadlifts, like Sam Butterworth's last deadlift, being that close to the heaviest deadlift in tested powerlifting in Australia was really, really sick. I had the opportunity to be like to stand on the side and watch people walk onto the platform as we're getting ready, and yeah, just being part of it was incredible. Really good, really, really, really good comp.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about that Sam deadlift was the nationals battle between he and Josh. Josh was there spotting. So Josh was there, and Josh was loving it. Like Josh was like, "Fuck yeah, dude! Like this is so good." It's just that camaraderie that we have in this sport a lot of the time, where your direct competitor may do something that beats you, like literally takes your total record away from you, and you're there like clapping and smiling. So that's obviously a credit to Josh and Sam. They're good friends, and I'm really keen to see that battle next year as well. They both look like they're just both trending up.
They're looking really good. Josh is looking really
I'm
good.
really hoping that they both turn up in good nick at nationals and give us another one that goes down to the last deadlift. How about you, Maddie? What was your favorite moment?
There were a lot of sort of individual moments and individual people that I really enjoyed watching, but I think where there were battles were really, really enjoyable for me, and particularly the 84s and particularly the 105s. I think because there's that element of the day starts heating up throughout the day, and of course the earlier battles are really cool and they were great, but as the day, almost the crowd starts elevating more and more and more as the heavier deadlifts start coming out and everything like that. So I think we saw that happen during the 84. I think also the 84 women had quite a lot of support there personally as well. And then 105s, I've got stake in it, so I enjoy it because they're friends and like, you know, in the future, like competitors and stuff like that. So I really look up to the 105s personally and love to see how well they can do, just from like a selfish perspective. And then of course, because like I said, I was rooting for Hong, and seeing him kind of pull through was really cool. But you will also know I love watching Michael, and I think he had a remarkable day. And watching him pull that 350 and a half and knowing how much in it he would have been if he had capitalized on his squat was really, really cool. So a lot of moments. But for me, it was more where the day heated up and you could see the event and the community all kind of clash.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
I think the really cool thing about the two battles that you mentioned is that each of the lifters had different strengths. Like we had Hung, who was kind of, you know, just saving himself for that pull at the end. Similar with Rand. Rand would have been a little higher ahead if he made that squat. And then we sort of had Yanni with the big squat and the big bench, and then kind of seeing if he could do enough to take the other guys off. And then with the 84 girls, it was, you know, a battle for the squat, and then Beth quite a little bit ahead on bench press, and then again a huge battle for the deadlift. I think like it just highlights how different powerlifting battles can be because people have different strengths and weaknesses.
It was Tommy as well. His
Yeah,
day, you know, because I know he had a little bit of like knee stuff coming in or something like that. He got a bit, not unlucky, but he locked out his 205.
Yeah.
But he had some downward movement. So again, you know, you sort of tread along that wire.
And even his last deadlift was locked out, but just a little soft at the hips.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Because I was obviously at the front. Was it hips or shoulders or both?
I think it was hips, but
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure.
Because front, it did look like he was kind of losing it
Reaching
a little bit that way.
yeah.
But yeah, awfully close. And yeah, like you could talk about every lifter and be like, oh, there's a highlight here, a highlight
Yeah,
there.
we wanted to kind
So-
of keep this to an hour and a bit rather than do 4
yeah, exactly.
hours like
Babble
we
on
usually
and
do.
babble on. We've done that anyways. But
Yeah. So I guess like my favorite moment was like the stretch of deadlifts at the end for the women.
Yeah.
Obviously I was coaching that session, so it was Liz to go into first, and then it was Zin to chip her for the record, and then it was Brittany to chip Liz, and then it was Shania attempting a deadlift record, and then it was Kate attempting a deadlift record, and then it was Yanni attempting and making a deadlift record, total record, and going in first, and then it was Beth, and then it was Izzy, and it was like that string of, I think it was 8 deadlifts in a row that had like real meaning, like whether it
something
was
on the
changing
line.
a placing
Yeah.
or whether it was a record attempt or
Yeah.
a total record, like it was just so sick. I got
Yep.
goosebumps actually
Yep.
talking about this. It was so sick because we don't get this at nationals. Like at
Yep.
nationals, you have these
It's all more
these
separated.
11 women are spread across 6 sessions, and you might get 2 or 3 of them in the same session, but you don't get all 11 lifting in the same session.
Yeah.
Where every single attempt could potentially be a record or a podium or a total record or whatever. Like it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's almost like it's almost like if you watch a basketball game and then you just condense it to only the highlights, and all you see is the big dunks and the
Yeah.
huge blocks.
Yeah.
Like that's what it felt like. It was like
Literally, yeah.
one thing after another, one thing after
Yeah.
another, like huge lift, huge lift, huge lift. It was just like, it was sick.
And it's also just like you said, like that stardom of when everyone came in.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when the comp's happening. It's like all those names you're saying, it's like, it's our stars, you know, or a lot of our stars. Like, wow, that's that person. Oh, that's that person. Oh, wow, oh, she's amazing. Wow, she's a weapon. And there's weapon after weapon after weapon coming out into the platform. Like, it's fun.
And also standing in the warm-up room as well, like watching them get ready to walk into the platform, like one after the other, was really cool.
Yeah.
Sam Butterworth, I don't know if you guys saw, like they made like a freaking runway for him to run to the platform. So basically there was the board, or what is it, the banner. And he was standing basically like at least halfway before you sort of walk on. And all the boys were like, hey, get out of the way, get out of the way, get out of the way. And they're all like hyping him up before he's getting onto the last deadlift. And he like ran on, he had a little runway onto the platform. That was so sick.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was so cool.
Yeah, Sam's so funny. Like he has his headphones in, and he's listening to like Dancing in the Moonlight. Like he's actually listening to like the funniest music that like you wouldn't expect. And then he starts singing it and he's like, dancing in the like properly loud that people who are just like standing around are like, what the fuck's going on here?
I love that.
So good.
Yeah.
He's so fun to watch. I will say towards the end, I was getting sick like the day before. And by the end of the comp, because I coached 5 a.m. and then I coached all through the prime time, I had one point where I was handing in an attempt card and my lip started bleeding. And I handed in an attempt card that had blood all over it because my lip was bleeding. I'm like, man, I'm fucking wrecked. I need to go home. And then as we were leaving, I couldn't find my keys.
And then next week of training, he's like, I don't know why I don't feel great, man.
Yeah, I was fucking wrecked. Anyway, do we have any closing thoughts, boys?
Yeah, look, I mean, similar to the opening ones, I think it was a really outstanding event. City Strength, you guys all did an amazing job. It was really cool to be a part of. I think that it's been a talking point for the Australian, powerlifting community, and it only adds to the growth and excitement that we're already seeing. So I have a lot of just good things to say and love for everyone who was a part of it, and I'm really excited for the next one. I think it's going to be a whole different game, So really, really pleased.
I'm hoping that we see a lot of new faces at the next one. People who maybe didn't accept their invite, or people who emerge as contenders in the next calendar year. And then like obviously there'll be a lot of the same faces as well who are just kind of almost part of the furniture in Australian powerlifting. I want to say thanks to John and Greta mostly.
Yeah.
Like I've been involved in the organization, but only from an ideas perspective. Like I just throw fucking random ideas at them like every day. I'm like, oh, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Or to the point where I pissed them both off. And they did such a good job, like reining me in and going, okay, that's a good idea. That one sucks. And I think we did a really good job of like, finding the balance to find professionalism, but also just like fun. I thought it was amazing. And final shout out to Chris, to Kanisha and Luke, the streaming team.
Yeah.
They were fantastic. Like they put in so many hours before we started to get this all running, to get the camera angles, to get the roaming camera that fucking zooms in on people, and like
set up the bench camera and all that
the
shit.
bench camera up on the mezzanine. Like the amount of work that went in behind the scenes from those three, and obviously John helping them out was immense. And then our amazing MC Jacob Sofianos and our 2 commentators Maddie and Chris Andrews, just fantastic. Like I'm so stoked with how it all turned out.
I think the other sick thing was that it wasn't just lifters who were flying in to watch. Well, like Jacob Sofianos, Chris, you had spot loaders who weren't even like in Sydney who flew down just to watch and volunteer. That was really, really cool too.
Yep.
Yeah, that was sick.
Coming together for the community.
Yeah.
So sick. Anyway, thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.
Let's go lift some weights.
Let's go train.
And I'll talk to you all next week.
So, yeah.
Bye-bye.